My favorite part about this project is that from the outside, it's a nice looking, yet very nondescript box, but as soon as you open it, that all changes. And then you see this are really 5 projects in one. We have the road case on the outside, the cabinet inside of that, the drawers inside that cabinet, the countertop on top of all that, and the boxes inside the doors. Let's start by building the road case box. So this bar cart is going to look just like a road case. So 6 panels, it's a big box, and it would make the most sense to make that out of plywood. So I got a bunch of these pieces of thick red oak. So the plan is to mill it all down, resaw it down the middle, and then laminate all that into my own 1/2-inch thick panels. Here's my thought process. Why not use this lumber up? I got a bunch of it, got a good deal on it. Instead of buying plywood, use what I got already. And I'm assuming this thing's going to get beat up a little bit. It's going to get rolled around, and instead of having a thin veneer that just gets punched right through, it's solid wood, so it's going to hold up a lot better over time. And I just like overcomplicating things. So we just watched me overcomplicate making a box. Riveting content there, Mr. Jackman. But really when you boil it down, woodworking is simply just making wooden boxes of different shapes and sizes. A cabinet is a box, a drawer is a box, even a solid block of wood is a box, just without a cavity on the inside. And you're going to see me build a lot of boxes in this video, so strap in. The thing that makes this box into a road case are these aluminum extrusions right here. The outside corner gets the simple L-shaped corner extrusion. The entire perimeter of those pieces gets these tongue and groove extrusions oriented opposite one another. I'll cut all the miters with my table saw sled set to 45 degrees, the air conditioning set to 70 degrees, and then it's just a matter of working one piece at a time around the perimeter, getting each fit perfectly, and then using that as a reference for the next piece, and sneaking up on the exact size for each piece by cutting it slightly long and then trimming it down until it fits. The L-shaped pieces on the outside corners are less exact, as you'll see later. The ends of those get covered up anyway. Now, because nothing in woodworking can be easy, on each of these doors I had to flip the tongue and groove in a couple of spots so that it matched with the mating pieces. The corners where these meet up looks a little sloppy, so I just filed the aluminum to match the profile. And later I'll fill what's left with Thixo that I tinted silver, and once that's cured and filed down, nobody will ever know. Except for you. Now, my method chosen to install these extrusions is glue and screws rather than typical rivets, because I'm a woodworker who uses a credit card because I don't like change. That wasn't even funny. Once everything is perfectly aligned, I strap all the parts together so that I can mark the screw locations a couple inches apart, centered on each piece, pull the extrusions off to pre-drill the aluminum, which I will then reinstall with Thixo epoxy this time, along with approximately 25,000 screws. But first I figured now is a good time to install the latches and handles, so I pull out the router with a flush trim bit, blue tape, and Type-On Instant Bond and activator to make that happen. Protection is important if you're a box. The last bit of metal to get installed on the outside of the box is corner protection, both on the outside miters and ball corners on the outside corners, which not only protect these corners but also cover up the joints and the extrusions so you can be a hack like me. At this point, I also install supporting hardware on the lid to lock the lid at 90 degrees. It's very minimal, just a bracket on either end that I screw right into the wood through the extrusions, plus a screw on each side of the support to hold it in place. Just like me, the lid is pretty beefy, so I install a support bracket on both sides of the cabinet just to be safe. A few coats of varnish go on the inside of the box now, which I waited to do just to ensure that all the glue and epoxy had perfect bonding surfaces during assembly, and that's all done now. Then I move on to the next component, which is the cabinet frame. I'm going to build this with oak to match the rest of the box, and I'm trying to save weight where I can, so it's pretty hollow, just with support enough to hold the drawers and the countertop. Next component is the drawers. Milled down from poplar, I make one face flat, plane the pieces down to a heavy 3/4 of an inch thick, make one edge flat, rip them to width, sand them to an exact 3/4 inch finished thickness, cut them to length, and then carefully organize a set for each drawer and mark the corners to make it as easy as possible to relearn myself how to use this dovetail jig, since I apparently purge that information after every time I use it. I have a bunch of walnut that I've salvaged over time and tucked away, and I was able to gather up just enough for the drawer fronts and boxes in the doors. The drawer fronts are very basic, so the attention stays on this awesome wood grain and the rest of the cabinet. I laminate some pieces for the wider drawers, and add a 16th inch roundover to all of the outside corners. And each pair of drawer fronts was made from a single piece so that I can get continuous grain across the width of the cabinet. Next, I milled down all of my thinner walnut to 5/8 of an inch thick, cut those pieces down to width, and cut them to length. And I'm a woodworker, which means I'm making more boxes, this time with box joints. So whenever I'm doing one of my weird palette lamination projects, it's very hard to estimate how many pallets, how much material it's gonna take. So I always just do extra so I don't have to process more pallet wood. And then when I'm done, the extra just gets laminated together. It makes it easier to store, and then I have it in the future for future projects like this one. This specifically are leftovers from my kitchen island project from years ago. So what I'm gonna do is plane these down, laminate them together, and then this is gonna be the countertop for this bar cart. All right, this is uncomfortable. The staring. I know you're on screen, so I'm staring at you, staring at me, but thank you. Just 2 more small components are needed for the boxes and the doors before we can wrap this thing up. To help hold the cup dispenser, I make these L brackets out of plywood, which are glued together with a mitered corner. A hole the diameter of the cup dispenser is drilled into the top of each one, and then they're all painted black to match the color of the dispenser and to help them blend in. I'll attach these inside the boxes later. Last are lids for ice trays that are going in the boxes. My CNC woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, so instead I cut some templates on my laser and then use a flush trim bit in the router table to cut this PVC sheet down to size. The blue tape and CA glue trick works great to hold these templates in place, then I can just pop them off and add them to these ice trays. Now let's wrap this thing up and have a drink. Or probably just take a nap. Well, that's a wrap on this one, built for Carolina Shoe, who also happens to be the main sponsor of this video. Now, this bar cart will eventually end up in one of their showrooms, but you can shop their entire lineup of boots anytime at carolinashoe.com. And I even have a discount for you. At checkout, code Jackman20 for a limited time will get you 20% off any of their Cardinal collection of boots. That includes these 2 styles here that you saw me wearing during the course of this build, the Constructor and the Guardian, and also a handful of other styles. These are all part of their new line of flexible, comfortable, and lightweight boots. I specifically like the Guardian because the flat outsole is very stable, comfortable for long days in the shop when you're building overly complicated projects like this one. Then the Constructor is great for some more outdoor type work, but really any of the styles of Carolina boots or shoes are great, comfortable, long-lasting boots. That's why it's the only thing that I wear in the shop. Also, definitely check out their apparel and workwear. Some honorable mentions are their socks, of all things, are great. And then the pencil holder hat, which you always see me wearing. For people like me, where cargo pants aren't enough, you need a cargo hat to go with it, too. Keep your eyes on my social media for more real-time updates on what I'm building. And I'll see you soon for the next one, hopefully, if I can stop overcomplicating my builds. I won't.